Subscribe because it's free.
Earth hung in the void, a fragile blue against the infinite black. Humanity had watched the stars for centuries, wondering if something watched back. On a quiet night, they got their answer. Jagged ships tore through space, crystalline and sharp, like knives slicing the fabric of reality. No engines roared, no warning sounded. They simply appeared, hovering above every continent. Governments scrambled, their voices crackling over radios and screens, urging calm while militaries aimed weapons at the sky. The ships didn't flinch. They loomed silent and cold, their surfaces glinting with an unnatural light. Billions of eyes stared upward, hearts pounding, waiting for the first move. A sound broke the tension, a low hum that vibrated through bones and buildings alike. Then came the transmission. Every device on Earth lit up, from ancient televisions to cutting-edge implants. A voice spoke, flat and mechanical, devoid of warmth. We are the Zyra Collective. Our purpose is to catalog sentient life. Your species is under evaluation. Do not resist. The words hung heavy, their meaning unclear. Were they explorers? Judges? Executioners? No one knew, but the air thickened with dread. Before humanity could respond, the ships acted. Glowing orbs spilled from their hulls. Thousands of them, drifting down like fireflies. They moved with purpose, spreading across cities, jungles, deserts, and seas, unstoppable and untouchable. The orbs reached the ground and began their work. A farmer in Nebraska froze as one hovered near, its light washing over him. In Tokyo, a salaryman stumbled as another scanned his body, unblinking. Across the globe, the story repeated. People held their breath powerless as the orbs pierced skin with invisible rays. Scientists raced to labs, shouting theories about radiation or biosignals. But their instruments failed to keep up. Militaries fired missiles and bullets, only to watch them dissolve midair, swallowed by the orb's faint shimmer. A general in a bunker cursed as his screen showed the same result. 0 damage. The scan was relentless, methodical, and complete within hours. Every human on Earth had been touched, their essence laid bare to an alien mind. Panic erupted, streets filled with shouts and shattered glass as people fled nowhere in particular. News anchors stammered, their polished words crumbling into fear. In a small town, a woman clutched her child, whispering prayers as an orb floated past. Others fought back in vain. A group of engineers in Berlin tried to trap one, rigging a net of steel and magnets. The orb passed through, dissolving their work into sparks. Leaders broadcast unity, but their voices trembled. The world held its breath, waiting for the verdict. Then the Zyra spoke again, their transmission cutting through the chaos like a blade. Your genetic code is flawed. Weakness detected. Evaluation in progress. The words sank in, cold and final, leaving humanity to wonder what weakness meant to a species that crossed stars. The farmer in Nebraska clenched his fists, staring at the sky. In Tokyo, the salaryman loosened his tie, sweat beading on his brow. A soldier in a desert outpost reloaded her rifle, muttering defiance. Billions felt the same shift, a mix of terror and anger, a refusal to bow. The orbs retreated, vanishing into the ships, their task done. But the Zyrath weren't finished. Their hulls pulsed, a deep rhythm that shook the ground. Lights flared along their edges, brighter than before, signaling something new. Scientists speculated wildly. Were they preparing to attack? To leave? No one could agree, but the air buzzed with a truth humanity couldn't yet grasp. The aliens had seen countless worlds, judged countless species. They thought they understood life. They were wrong. The farmer remembered every harvest he'd clawed from drought. The salaryman recalled nights he'd worked through exhaustion. The soldier thought of comrades she'd carried through hell. Across Earth, unspoken stories stirred. Scars earned, odds beaten, lives rebuilt from ruin. The Zyrath had scanned for perfection, for clean lines and flawless design. They'd found something Messier, something they couldn't measure. The ship's hum grew louder, a sound of calculation, of certainty. They believed they'd pinned humanity down, cracked its code wide open, but the truth lingered just out of their reach, a spark they'd mistaken for a flaw. They thought they'd found our breaking point. They didn't know what they'd unleashed. The Xyrath Collective watched Earth from their crystalline ships, their minds a lattice of cold logic. To them, life was a puzzle to be solved, a sequence of genes to be ranked. They'd cross galaxies, cataloging species with ruthless precision. Some preserved, others erased, all judged by a standard humanity couldn't fathom. Inside their vessels, biocomputers hummed, sifting through the data from the scan. The results flashed across their systems. Fragile skeletons prone to fracture, cells that decayed in mere decades, a litany of diseases baked into the code. The verdict was swift. Humanity was defective, a low-tier species unfit for the cosmic order. The Xyrath decided Earth's fate. Its biosphere would be scrubbed clean, reshaped for a worthier purpose. Their plan unfolded without delay. The orbs returned, descending once more, but this time they carried a mist, faint and shimmering, spreading like a plague. It seeped into lungs, clung to skin, and worked fast. A teacher in London coughed, her strength fading as she ushered students to safety. A fisherman in Chile slumped over his boat, his arms trembling. The mist targeted the body's core, dulling nerves, softening muscle, a pacification before the end. The Xyrath monitored from above, their sensors tracking collapse. They expected compliance, a quiet surrender. They'd seen it before on other worlds. Species crumbling under their touch, too weak to resist. Earth would be no different, or so they thought. But the data flickered. In a village in Kenya, a mother carried her infant through the haze, her legs shaking but never stopping. In a Moscow subway, a man dragged his friend to an exit, ignoring the burn in his chest. Across continents, outliers emerged, humans who pushed back, who refused to fall. The Xyrath adjusted their instruments, recalibrating, but the anomalies grew. The mist wasn't failing. It was being defied. Confusion rippled through their collective mind, a rare glitch in their certainty. They dug deeper into the DNA, searching for the error, what they'd labeled as flaws, random mutations, chaotic repair systems, didn't align with their models. Something was wrong. The truth hit like a shockwave, though they couldn't name it yet. Humanity's genome wasn't a blueprint of perfection. It was a battlefield. Bones broke, but fused tougher. Immune systems faltered, then adapted, turning scars into shields. Minds teetered on madness, but found clarity in the chaos. The Xyrath had scanned for static strength, for flawless design, and found a species forged in struggle instead. The mist, meant to paralyze, sparked something primal in those who fought it. A truck driver in Texas roared his engine through the fog, delivering supplies to a stranded town. A nurse in Delhi stitched wounds with trembling hands, her pulse racing but steady. These weren't exceptions. They were the rule the Xyrath had missed. The aliens reacted, their ships pulsing with new energy. Larger drones detached, angular and sleek, descending to investigate. Their sensors swept the ground, probing the resistors, try and crack the paradox. The teacher in London stood taller, her voice firm as she rallied her class. The fisherman in Chile gripped his oars, rowing harder against the tide. The Xyrath's biocomputers churned, spitting out warnings, inconsistent behavior, unpredictable variables. They'd built their empire on order, on life that bent to their will. Humanity didn't bend. It broke and rebuilt itself, sharper each time. The drones hovered closer, their lights piercing the mist, seeking answers. A soldier in a ruined outpost laughed, her rifle steady despite the ache in her limbs. A child in a refugee camp ran, dragging a sibling to shelter, small but fierce. The Xyrath saw numbers, not stories, data, not defiance. They'd mistaken adaptability for weakness, resilience for fragility. The mist thickened, a desperate push to subdue. But the outliers multiplied. A factory worker in Shanghai smashed a drone with a wrench, his breath ragged but victorious. The alien certainty cracked, their evaluation spiraling. They thought they'd found our limits. They didn't realize those limits were the forge where we sharpen ourselves. Humanity didn't wait for the Xyrath to finish their evaluation. The mist still hung heavy, sapping strength, but people moved anyway. In a basement lab in Seoul, scientists cracked a mist secret. Chemical markers targeting human genes. They didn't have alien tech, but they had grit, using salvaged or fragments in old satellites. They rigged a counter-signal, blasting across airwaves. It wasn't perfect. Static hissed. Frequencies clashed, but it worked. In patches, the mist thinned. A welder in Detroit cheered as his legs steadied, grabbing a crowbar to join the fight. Word spread fast, not through polished networks, but ragged radio calls. Voices cutting through the haze. "We're not done yet," they said, and the world listened. The fight wasn't just survival, it was defiance. Soldiers in a Brazilian jungle shot adrenaline into their veins, their bodies screaming, beholding. The mist couldn't stop them now. It fueled them. In a flooded bunker in Bangladesh, hackers typed furiously, flooding Xyrath drones with garbage code, memes, viruses, anything to clog their systems. The drones twitched, lights flickering, as alien precision met human chaos. A biologist in Sydney took it further, culturing bacteria from a hospital ward and tweaking it with makeshift tools. She unleashed it on a downed drone, watching its hull bubble and melt. "Weakness," she muttered. "Try this." The Xyrath had scanned us for flaws, and we handed them more. The tide turned messy and loud. Across a desert in Nevada, a pilot in a patched-up jet rammed a drone, metal screeching as both plummeted. In a Siberian forest, hunters lured drones into traps, their arrows useless but their cunning lethal. Off a Pacific coast, a fishing boat lobbed homemade bombs as submerged Xyrath probe, water erupting in plumes. The alien sensors flared, overwhelmed by the onslaught. Their broadcast stuttered, a rare crack in their monotone. Re-evaluation required. Anomalous resistance detected. Humanity didn't care. A teenager in Cape Town rigged a speaker to blare music, drowning out the drone's hum, rallying survivors. Every strike was a shout. We're still here. The Xyrath drones doubled down, swooping low, their beams cutting through steel and stone. But humans adapted faster. A mechanic in Kiev rewired a car battery into a pulse weapon, frying a drone circuits. A librarian in Mexico City burned books to create smoke, blinding their sensors. In a flooded New Orleans street, a cook tossed oil into a drone's path, igniting it with a match. The aliens built their machine for order, for predictable prey. They got us instead stubborn, scrappy, unstoppable. A farmer in Ireland laughed as he smashed a drone with a shovel, blood dripping from his nose, but eyes alight. The Xyrath couldn't keep up. Coordination grew, raw but fierce. A trucker in Alberta hauled a jury-rigged transmitter across icy roads, broadcasting the counter-signal wider. A doctor in Jakarta stitched wounds under flickering lights, barking orders to keep the line moving. In a Mumbai slum, kids darted through alleys, planting traps from scrap metal. The Xyrath ships loomed, their glow dimming as drones fell. A global feed sparked to life. Not official, just a pirate signal patched together by whoever could. A voice cut through, steady despite the chaos. They thought they'd break us. Watch what happens next. It wasn't a promise. It was a dare. A team in a crumbling warehouse pride opened a captured drone, its insides pulsing with alien light. Tools clattered, sparks flew as they tore it apart. A chemist splashed acid on its core, a physicist traced its power lines. A kid with no training pointed at a weak spot. They worked fast, broadcasting every move to anyone watching. The Xyrath signal faltered again, their drones hesitating mid-flight. Humanity didn't pause. A welder in Jakarta melted drone shards into a blade, handing it to a fighter. A teacher in Paris scrawled plans on a chalkboard, shouting them into a radio. The weapons they found weren't in our genes, they were in our souls. The Xyrath ships trembled, their crystalline hulls fracturing under humanity's relentless push. From a cluttered garage in Ohio, engineers pulsed an EMP wave cobbled from drone scraps, rippling across the sky. Lights on the nearest ship flickered, then died. A pilot in a rickety plane dove straight into another, a fireball blooming as he bailed out, parachute snapping open, across an Indian Ocean reef. Divers wired explosives to a submerged craft, their breath short but hands steady. No one waited for orders. Truck drivers rammed drones, welders torched hulls, kids flung rocks when nothing else remained. Humanity fought with everything, not because it was elegant, but because it was ours. We don't go quiet. A voice crackled over a dying radio, and the world roared back. The Xyrath couldn't adapt. Their drones crashed in droves, littering deserts and cities with smoking husks. A farmer in Vietnam rigged a tractor to drag one down, its cable snapping but holding just long enough. In a Tokyo lab, coders hijacked an alien signal. Turning it against a fleet, ships shuddered, veering off course. A fisherman in Norway harpooned a low-flying drone, grinning as it sank into the sea. The alien's biocomputers screamed errors, their logic unraveling. A final broadcast broke through, strained and jagged. Species designation: unpredictable. Status: unconquerable. The ships flared once, blindingly bright, then vanished through their rifts, leaving silence in their wake. Earth exhaled. Streets erupted in cheers, ragged and raw, as the mist dissolved. A nurse in Cairo slumped against a wall, laughing through tears. A soldier in the Sahara dropped his rifle, staring at the empty sky. The cost was steep. Cities smoldered. Fields lay trampled, lives gone in the blink of a drone's beam. But the survivors stood taller. A mechanic in Sao Paulo kicked a drone's corpse, spitting on it before walking away. Scientists swarmed the wreckage, prying open secrets with crowbars and curiosity. The Xyrath had come to erase us, but they'd left us sharper, hungrier, ready for whatever came next. Rebuilding started fast. In a flooded Manila alley, a woman handed out bread baked over a fire, her hands scarred but firm. A teacher in Warsaw scribbled lessons on a crackboard, kids crowding close. A pilot in Alaska patched his plane, eyes on the stars, not in fear, but defiance. The Xyrath tech wasn't theirs anymore. It was ours. A chemist in Beijing brewed fuel from alien alloys. A hacker in Lagos wrote code to tap their signals. Humanity didn't just survive. It claimed the fight, turned it into a forge. They judged us weak, a voice whispered over a jury-rigged feed, and we proved them wrong. The scars remained, etched into the planet and its people. A desert bloomed with drone husks, rusting under the sun. A city skyline jagged with broken towers stood as a monument, but life pulsed stronger. A fisherman in Greece hauled nets again, his boat patched with Xyrath metal. A kid in Bogota kicked a ball through rubble, laughing as it soared. The stars above felt closer now, not a threat, but a challenge. Scientists launched probes from scavenged tech, their engines humming with stolen power. The Xyrath had scanned us, expecting collapse. Instead, they'd lit a fire we'd never let die. A lone voice cut through the noise, not grand but steady, carried by a signal bouncing across the globe. We're not perfect. We break, we bleed, we falter, but we get up, always. It wasn't a speech, just truth, spoken by someone who'd lived it. In a quiet field, a farmer planted seeds over a drone's grave, the soil rich with its ash. In a lab, a biologist mapped alien genes, dreaming of what we could become. The Xyrath thought they'd end us. They didn't see we were just beginning. Earth spun on, battered but unbroken. Its people forged anew. The final note hung in the air, simple and clear. Humanity looked up, not at ships or orbs, but at the vastness they'd earned. The Xyrath had come with their scans, their cold judgment, and fled with nothing. We kept the victory, written in every stubborn step, every defiant breath. They scanned our DNA for weakness and found the weapons that define us.